Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From brand new audiobooks such as Thrawn Treason and the audiobook exclusive Dooku Jedi Lost, to our blockbuster movie tie-in editions, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Start listening wherever audiobooks are sold.
This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
All right, everybody, welcome to Coffee with Kenobi show number 297. We have got quite a surprise here. Last night, we were recording our CWK pour-over, and we have breaking news. And as far as I know, Corey and Tom are with me. Corey Clubb and Tom Gross, of course. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Do either of you have any idea what I'm about to say?
No.
I know nothing breaking at the moment.
Okay, well, here we go. From the Hollywood Reporter, Star Wars shocker, Marvel's Kevin Feige developing new movie for Disney. He is making a Star Wars movie.
Wow.
Yes, I know.
Now
I
making
goosebumps. Let me read this to you.
Yeah, please.
Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy is pursuing a new era in Star Wars storytelling, and knowing what a diehard fan Kevin is, it made sense for these two extraordinary producers to work on a Star Wars film together. This is what Alan Horn, the Walt Disney Studios co-chairman, has said. Let me go in a little bit more on this. It says, to the surprise of no one, Kevin Feige is a huge Star Wars fan, and it may surprise fans that Marvel Studios chief is going to be developing a Star Wars movie as Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy makes new plans for a wave of projects set in the universe, all through the Hollywood Reporter. This is official stuff. Alan Horn says, we are excited about the projects Kathy and the Lucasfilm team are working on, not only in terms of Star Wars, but also Indiana Jones and reaching into other parts of the company, including Children of Blood and Bone with Emma Watts and Fox. With the close of the Skywalker saga, Kathy is pursuing a new era in Star Wars storytelling, and knowing what a diehard fan Kevin is, it made sense for these two extraordinary producers to work on a Star Wars film together. Now, there's already speculation, of course, that this is maybe a prelude to a larger role for Feige within Lucasfilm, while others think it's just the Marvel executive's passion for the franchise, and he clearly is a monster hit maker. There's a top Disney source that says Kennedy remains fully in charge with no plans for any changes to the company. Kevin has told a major actor that's a specific role he would like that person to play if and when he makes this movie. That's pretty much the bulk of what we know so far. But gentlemen, we were 15 minutes into pour over and I got this news and I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I'm having so much fun talking with you guys about what we're talking about on pour over, which you definitely need to subscribe to and listen to through our Patreon page. But this, guys, this is seriously about as good as it gets.
Oh, I have to say,
I'm shocked.
I'm stunned.
I know.
Man, breaking indeed. This is shocking news, and boy, I guess what I'm sitting here thinking about is where does this go? What's the direction that he has someone in mind for a major character? Did I hear you say that right?
Yeah. I don't know what that means, but this guy has got so much clout, as the kids say.
Right.
And he's such, like I said, a monster maker. I mean, I've seen him in person a couple times, and the way he carries himself, the aura he has, I mean, people trust him. They love him, unless your name is Sony and you're denying this. I feel like you're seeing Tom Holland in the Marvel Cinematic Universe again. And this is great. I think this is the adrenaline shot in the arm that Star Wars needs. Now, we have no idea about the rise of Skywalker, the impact it's going to have, the story, the mythology, the financial implications that film will have. But this is exactly what we needed. I mean, it's purely genius. And when I was in California last month, I remember thinking, wouldn't it be cool if Feige did something with Star Wars? But no, he's got the Marvel thing going. But hey, things have changed, gentlemen. Wow.
I mean, this isn't a huge shock to me because of the success that Feige has had at Marvel. Obviously, he's doing that for over 10 years. and riding that kind of that wave of media. And to me, he's kind of the mastermind behind, what I'm trying to say, introducing these things as they come out, like San Diego Comic-Con. He's the one that kind of gets behind making sure that these come out in the right format, the right way they want to do it. I think that's what I admire about him, is the fact that he puts everything behind it, and the fact that like he knows fans pretty well of Marvel that want to look for the insights and the tidbits and the want to get ahead of him, and he's always a few steps before them. So for him to say, "Hey, I've got an actor in mind, we've got an era in mind, we know where this is going to go," this is second nature to him. I think this is a great relationship. I think this is a great position for him to be putting him his ability into, his skill sets, and see what comes out of it. I think this is, like you said, Dan, it's a great shot in the arm for Star Wars, and kind of seeing what the next chapter looks like. Because as we know, it's wrapping up in December as we get closer and closer to the Rise of Skywalker and wrapping up that storyline. And what does happen next? What's going on? And for Feige to kind of step up and kind of lay the groundwork for that is very exciting.
Tom, anything else before we jump into our Disney Indie Meet conversation?
No, I think this is so exciting. And you both have said it, and I'll just repeat it, I suppose. And that is, what a great hope, I suppose, for the next story coming along. I'm still floored that that it's apparently so far advanced, or at least they have thought far enough ahead to say, here's some thoughts that we have. Here are the ideas that we have. I've even got people in mind for this. I mean, geez, that's so much further ahead than I would have imagined. So, wow, exciting stuff.
Well, and D.B. Weiss and David Benioff from Game of Thrones and Rian Johnson are still working on some Star Wars projects too. So this doesn't mean anybody's on the way out. These are mutually exclusive things here. And of course, when things happen, when we hear it, you're going to find out about it on our Coffee with Kenobi Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and certainly on the show. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me for this breaking Star Wars news.
Absolutely.
So we're going to kick off the show. First, you're going to hear Tom and I with a little bit of a riff at the beginning, and then some audio from the Indy Disney Meet. We had a wonderful, wonderful time there, which we'll talk about on a future show. Tom and I had the good fortune to go up to Indiana. We got to be on the main stage for this Indy Disney Meet, where we rate the overall, everybody raised $55,000 for Give Kids the World, which is an incredible thing. What an incredible blessing to be able to be a part of that. Got to spend a lot of time with Lou Mongello and Becky Menken. Did a Looking at Lucasfilm and got to talk with the amazing Aaron Adams, which was an absolute blast. And you'll hear him on this show as well. And we had a recording guffaw. So fortunately, I brought my GoPro 7, and the audio from that video of our recording with Lou Mongello and Tom and I talking about what it means to have balance in the Force, that audio is pretty solid. So we're going to listen to that. Without further ado, we're going to kick off the regular show. Let us know for sure what you think about Kevin Feige working on a Star Wars film and what that implication means. Very, very exciting stuff.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
We are live at the Indy Disney Meet. Tom Gross and Dan Z. We've had a ball today, haven't we?
Oh, this has been a lot of fun.
Thank you, everybody. Be sure to subscribe to the show. Tell us about why it was fun.
It's fun seeing, anytime you get people together who have a common in this case, it's all of Disney. It was fun to see those people and to chat with them. Came across some old fans and I think made some new fans today talking about Star Wars. We were up on the main stage, which, boy, that was a lot of fun. And, and then I actually got to sit on with Looking at Lucasfilm for the very first time. That was a lot of fun.
It was cool to see you get excited to do that, because I'm like, wow, he's never been on Looking at Lucasfilm. Well, let's make that happen. That was really fun. I thought our live show, we're going to check the audio later. Hopefully, if it was good, you'll be hearing it after this recording. But we were in a massive room. I don't know how big this room is, but it's a giant barn. You could probably put planes inside it. Probably. And it's not wired for acoustics per se, but there's a lot of people here, a lot of energy. We talked with Lou Mongello of WDW Radio about Galaxy's Edge. And then we talked a lot about balance of the Force. It was great fun. So if the audio was good,
You're going to hear that right now.
On our main stage, we'll be having a very special podcast. They came all the way from Illinois. This is the Coffee with Kenobi podcast. I would suggest if you are a Star Wars fan, you definitely want to like their page, follow them on Twitter, use their social media outlets because they're a great podcast. When I asked them to come out here to Indiana, no hesitation. They said, hey, we'll be there. We'd love to do a show from the event. And I said, you know what? This sounds like a great idea. So we're going to go ahead and introduce them now. They're going to come on our main stage, and they're going to do a live podcast right here. So I think that is terrific. So I'd like to introduce the team from the Coffee with Kenobi podcast. They're going to come up here on the main stage and do a show. I believe the topic is going to be Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, correct? We're going to talk about Disney's new land in California and in Orlando. Galaxy's Edge has been open now in California for about 4 months. Walt Disney World's version just opened up about a month ago, a little less than a month ago. And it's had a really great turnout. So I believe the show will be discussing that today. Again, we're excited to have them. Dan Z and Tom, they're going to be on the stage, and we're going to have a great podcast discussion about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. So thank you, Coffee with Kenobi. Come on up to our main stage, and we'll get started with the show.
Well, hello, everybody.
I'm going to sneak by him.
Can everybody hear us okay? No. How about now? Can you hear us now? All right, welcome everybody. We are Coffee with Kenobi, your place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, and rhetoric. I am one of your hosts, Dan Z, and joined by my co-host here, CWK newsman, Tom Gross.
Hello, everybody.
We have got an exciting show here for you, and we're going to kick it off with someone that you know and love. His name is Mongello. He is the host of WDW Radio. He's going to come in on a hot air balloon, I hear. Is that right, Lou? The Lou Mongello hot air balloon, is that going to happen? Come on down, Lou. Let's have a nice round of applause for Lou Mongello. And thank you so much for the amazing Revelation for escorting us onto the stage. Thank you so much, Brian and everybody. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Awesome, guys. Brian, put your hand up, Brian. Thank you so much. Yeah, this guy right here. Awesome. Come on down, big guy. Here it is, Lou Mongello, everybody. Okay, don't be nervous. Podcast is like radio, kind of. How do I use this thing? Yeah, I think you got the hang of this. So, Lou Mongello, of course, from WDW Radio. You have been to Galaxy's Edge on both coasts. So what I want to ask you about, since I haven't been to the one in Orlando yet, what major differences did you notice between Orlando and California?
It's two things. The heat and the humidity are the biggest differences between.
I was afraid of that.
But other than that, both of the parks are identical, save for a few minor differences. Obviously, the first being the number of entrances. Disneyland has 3, Walt Disney World has 2, from by where the Muppet area is, and then Toy Story Mania, where Toy Story Land is. And there are a few subtle differences throughout the park. There are definitely some nods and some Easter eggs to Walt Disney World extinct attractions. There's a few differences here and there in terms of where things are located, but for the most part, they basically mirror each other.
And something cool that Disney World has that I was excited to see was the Droid cart with an actual R5 unit painted in the Coca-Cola colors.
It's amazing seeing something like that makes you like, I need to go and buy a soda that I might not be thirsty for because it comes in a little thermal detonator and it's in a cart that's shaped like a droid.
Yeah, that was cool. How were the lines there for that? It seemed like just from Instagram and other things. Oh, you're great covered. It seemed like it was very popular.
So I'll tell you, and it's funny, social media is a very interesting thing because Disney gives guests what they want, right? They find a way to manage the lines in Galaxy's Edge, and people are like, it's a failure, nobody's going. No, they just found a way to thin the herd a little bit and then managed the attraction lines and even the merchandise lines so that people don't get frustrated standing online wasting a day for 10 hours. But I think the way that they have designed the land is very deliberate, very intentional, so that you don't feel that you need to spend 12 hours there. Right? The reason why they originally had this limitation on the amount of time you could spend in Oga's Cantina was to have you sort of have there be turnover, so you're not waiting for hours. I think 45 minutes is the perfect amount of time to spend there. So by making you pay the check when you order, you're not spending that 15, 20 minutes just waiting for a server to come by. So when you're done, you're ready to leave. So I think the flow of the lines is very natural, and the lines, the wait times have not been so exceptionally long. Now, Christmas Day is going to be a different story, but right now I think they're excellent.
Oh, can you imagine Galaxy's Edge on Christmas Day? Oh, Lord.
If they could somehow incorporate the Star Wars Holiday Special, that would be mind-blowing.
I don't think that's going to... Has anyone seen the Holiday Special? Star Wars Holiday Special? Oh, wow. And you keep your hand up if you actually like it. Oh. Yeah.
It had B. Arthur. How could you not like it?
The Golden Girl herself. So, is it true? And I'm glad that I've actually called this meeting here for one reason. Lou is the guy taking all the sporks from Galaxy's Edge.
I'm selling them at my booth, by the way. They're $17 each.
And Becky and Menke will actually autograph a spork if you're lucky.
And then they're $11 each.
That's good stuff. So, Galaxy's Edge, you and I got to experience that in California for the first time. I was next to you. Of course, we didn't talk about it because we were experiencing that. But for people who haven't heard, what's it like to see the Millennium Falcon for the first time?
You just want me to tell the story that I cried.
I do. Right. I brought tissues.
So, in all honesty, when I walked in and saw the Falcon, and I started to videotape myself because I couldn't believe that was a reaction that I was having. Because it is the first time we've ever seen a full-scale, fully realized life-size Millennium Falcon. Right? They've never actually built the full one on set.
They have like sometimes 2/3 of one, the rest is done with posters, behind-the-scenes stuff.
So it's exactly what 9-year-old Lou Mongello imagined it would be in 1977, and I did, and I cried. And I'm like, what is a salty discharge coming out of my eyes?
Thank you, Jerry.
But it did, and I think that's why I keep on saying that the land is really the star. The Falcon attraction is wonderful, but it's seeing the Falcon. It's sort of walking through that environment that I think hits a lot of people, and that's what Galaxy's Edge has. That Pandora doesn't, that Cars Land doesn't, that even Toy Story doesn't. You see it, and I'm not the only dude that cried. Building a lightsaber is going to make you cry.
I did. I got more emotional building that lightsaber. And if you've seen, has anyone here built a lightsaber at Savage Workshop in Galaxy's Edge? All right, so over behind the WDW radio booth is Coffee Kenobi's booth, and I have that Galaxy's Edge lightsaber that I built. If you want to come over after the show and hold one, it's an awesome, awesome thing. You and I and Becky built a lightsaber together, and I know like Becky has a different story for this, but she did basically beg you to build one. Right?
Thank you. Yes, she did. She did. So you and Becky were going in, and I said I didn't want to do it for a couple of reasons. One of which was, honestly, I wanted to wait and I'm gonna cry again. I wanted to take my son to do it because I think, and I'll do it. I cried again watching my son build it. And she's like, no, come on, come and do it with us. I'm like, Becky, I'm good, thank you. She's like, dude, I need another lightsaber. I don't want to have to wait online again. Go build my lightsaber for me. So that evil, dark, red Sith lightsaber that I built was at Becky Megan's command. Literally, it was at her command. It wasn't even a question.
I can't confirm it was a command. She didn't say, hey, would you do this?
Dude, her evil Sith powers are...
You're crying, Becky.
Yeah. I'm so happy she's not listening.
So, the one that you built, that Becky cajoled you into building, you got the red lightsaber, the kyber crystal. And she get a blue one?
Yeah, she got blue.
I got a blue one too. The extraordinary thing about these kyber crystals, and you've heard about this, but it's actually true. I went a couple weeks ago, actually during the D23 Expo, and you buy a holocron, and you put a different color kyber crystal in there, and it changes the color of the holocron, and different voices come on. Depending on which kyber crystal you get, is which Jedi you actually get from one of the movies. So my blue one is Luke from The Last Jedi, and the green one was Yoda from The Empire Strikes Back. Have you had a chance to test yours yet?
Yeah, so my son, I took him and I opened up the Pandora holocron because we've been back like 18 times because he wanted a yellow one and then he wanted the red one. He's like, well, if I get a red one, and he has his holocron as well. And he has the Sith holocron, and it is pretty cool when you put in some of the different ones. Some of the voices are really, really creepy and really, really well done.
And I know Ashley Eckstein voices Ahsoka Tano, and the CEO of her universe, she created new dialogue for Ahsoka Tano for the white kyber crystals as well. So that's really, really cool. I've not heard hers yet.
I haven't either. Have you made an attempt? Have you used the Force powers or a very bright light to try and find the black kyber crystal?
The last time I went, they, in the shocking tournaments, moved the kyber crystals to behind the register, so you can't do the trick anymore. And they've also, changed the case, so it really is going to be lucky draw. And did you know there are 4 different cuts of each color of the kyber crystals?
Do not tell my son that. Do not tell him that. So in World, you can still get them from the wall, but there's a cast member standing there. I would never do this. No. Because if you're trying to find the black kyber crystal for your son who's desperate for one, they will tell you that they really don't want you trying to use your flashlight by looking inside. Don't do that. So we have not found a black one again.
I really want to get one. But fun fact, and you probably know this, but I don't know if everyone does. The black kyber crystals, all the kyber crystals will change the color of the blade and the sound of the saber, but the black kyber crystal does not change the blade color. It's still red no matter what, which I think would be kind of cool if it was. Because does anyone know what a dark saber is? There's only one dark saber, a black saber. Anybody know what it is? Aaron knows. You know? You want to come up and tell me what it is? He says it's a Mandalorian super weapon. He is correct. In an episode of Star Wars Rebels, they have one black kyber crystal that was created, and whoever holds this dark saber is basically thought of as the kind of the leader or of Mandalore, which is the planet where Boba Fett's armor is from. Boba Fett's not from there, he's from Kamino, because he's a clone. A whole other story. Well, Lou, anything else you want to tell us about Galaxy's Edge? Okay, blue or green, or no thanks?
Okay, so 2 things. Blue milk. Anybody been there before, tried the blue and green milk? Team blue milk? Without a doubt. Team blue milk, without a doubt. Although, funny enough, they've changed the recipe of the green milk. So it's not quite as awful as it was before.
Hey, I was just going to say, I know that I've talked to several people here today who, and a few of you have even said to me, 97 days, we're going to be there. And so, for those of you, who has not been to Galaxy's Edge but plans to at some point? Okay, so this is a question for all of you. You've both been, I haven't been there either. And so, this is for both of you since you've been there. Can each of you give us some must-dos for first-time visitors there going to Galaxy's Edge?
Well, you know what I'm going to say. It's build a lightsaber at Savvy's Workshop. It's worth every penny. I know it's a hefty price, but it's worth it if you got to sell lemonade or donate a kidney or whatever you need to do. It is worth it because you're not only paying for the lightsaber, which again, come over and hold the one that I brought that I built, but it's an incredible experience. It's about 20, 25 minutes. It's hands-on and tactile. There's music, there's lights, there's wonderful surprises and voices from some of your favorite characters in the Star Wars universe. And there's a moment at the end which I refuse to spoil, but it is so magical. I can't wait to take Mason on. You said you brought your son, and I want to hear about that. But it is just worth everything. Because you feel like you're a kid and you're building a lightsaber and you've got your own kyber crystal that you get to pick out, and you feel like you're part of that world in a way that I never dreamed was possible. I've got Master of the lightsabers. I've got Force FX lightsabers. I've even got the old Kenner one that is like a balloon that you put inside. There is nothing like that experience. That and getting your picture with the Falcon. I will say, by the way, a quick pro tip, if you're getting your picture in front of the Falcon, I suggest getting it with the cockpit directly behind you. A lot of people do the front on one where the front of the ship is at you. That's good, but the one where you do the cockpit is behind you and you're on the side, it shows up much, much better on camera, I think. I like that. That's a good tip.
So I'll give you 2. Did you know that there's no hidden Mickeys, but there's hidden Millennium Falcons? What? Coffee with Kenobi? I'm going to drop the mic. I can't wait. So, on the Millennium Falcon, there's a hidden Millennium Falcon, and it's one of the coolest Easter eggs I have ever seen. So,
I've not heard that.
I'm not telling you, dude. Now you've got to go. Now, listen, I'm flying home tomorrow morning. Come with me. I'll show you where it is. Try and find the hidden Millennium Falcon on the Millennium Falcon. It's a real thing, and it's a cool Easter egg. The other thing I'll tell you is, when I went to the preview, and I've never seen this happen before, the Imagineers were so excited for the land, but they kept on saying to me, just wait till Rise of the Resistance opens. It's nothing like everybody's seen before. I've had a chance to walk into one of the rooms, and I need to be clear, there's only one of many. I've never felt the way I felt when I walked into that room, because when you step into that room, you are on the bridge of a Star Destroyer. And the air went out of the room, and everybody was dead silent. And there's a life-size TIE fighter there, and there's that life-size picture window, and a garrison of stormtroopers, and other things I won't spoil. But I think Rise of the Resistance is going to completely redefine what an e-ticket attraction is, not just in Walt Disney World, but in the theme park industry. I'll tell you guys off mic, like, what I learned if you want to know about the experience, but I've never been so excited for an attraction to open before as I am for Rise of the Resistance in December.
Wow. Yeah, and we've talked to some of the managers, I know you have too, and that experience sounds like it's going to be an absolute game changer, not just for theme parks worldwide, just for families. And I will say, there's a drop at the end. I don't like drops. I do not ride the Tower of Terror anymore. I'm retired from the Tower of Terror. Because the drop is no thanks, no bueno.
Do you know what the ride system is going to be like? Do you know a little bit about that?
I do, but I want you to tell our friends here.
Do you want to know, or do you? If you don't want to be spoiled, you need to leave. You need to get out. This is literally a spoiler alert. I'm not going to spoil too much, but the Rise of the Resistance is going to be a multi-stage attraction where there's going to be a walk-through portion. You're going to walk through another portal and step onto a ship and step onto the Star Destroyer. And at some point, you need to leave that Star Destroyer. You will board a vehicle that will take you through part of the attraction. That vehicle will dock with another vehicle to give you a second type of ride experience. And then that vehicle will have a drop sequence as you are jettisoned out of the Star Destroyer to crash land on a nearby planet.
I'm glad I'm not in charge of designing this thing, but we're paying for it. Well, that's good. Well, actually, no, it's all the merchandise I bought at Couches. I think I started to pay for it. Well, Lou, let everybody know where they can find you to hear the dulcet tones of your voice each and every week about Walt Disney World and all the great things Disney has to offer.
You can find everything I do at wdwradio.com.
Lou Mongello, everybody. Thank you so much, Lou.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio, featuring sound effects, music, and top-notch narrators from the movies. Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From Luke Skywalker to Kylo Ren to Admiral Akbar, you'll recognize all of your favorite characters. Listen to movie tie-ins like The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, and original titles such as Thrawn Treason, Alphabet Squadron, Master and Apprentice, and the audiobook exclusive Dooku Jedi Lost. With Star Wars audiobooks, you'll have plenty of Star Wars listening to keep you entertained. Available wherever audiobooks are sold. MEI and Mouse Fan Travel is the travel service that I use for the show and for my family, and it is absolutely wonderful. Their signature service and expert advice will help clients maximize their vacation time and dollar. Their no-cost, no-obligation quote when you use the service is awesome, and they also proactively adjust a booking if the rate goes down. They will help your family enjoy everything Galaxy's Edge and the Disney theme parks and cruise lines have to offer, help plan every detail, and will share invaluable tips. Be sure to go to our affiliate link, which can be found in the show notes, on the front of our webpage, or on our social media, and sign up for a free, no-obligation quote. You'll have the best vacation possible and help out Coffee with Kenobi in the process. Before we get to our thoughts on the Mandalorian trailer, I want to thank our CWK Patreon contributors, Jason Hall, Dennis Keithley, David Nicely, Jeff Ellis, Colby Mead, Yancey Evans, Ross Halliburton, Frank Mulder, Alexander Moylan, Melinda Wolf, Aaron Harris, Chris Gavarka, Angela Sauce, Rebecca Raven, Simbot Detradarian, Christine Turk, Sean Reed, Kurt McKellen, Dan Ream, Brian Harding, Blake Weaver, Jim Capron, Caroline Maselli, Chris Metz, LJ Souter, Thea Selby, Daz Davies, Christian Dale, Brian McKinney, Jared Cantor, BJ Smith, Eric Struthers, Nick Deco, and Mark Suter. Being a member of our Patreon contributors is a wonderful thing for us because you help the show in so many ways. You keep the lights on, keep things going in the studio, and help with the travel and all things that go into producing and making this show each and every week. It's a labor of love, but your contributions sure make that so much better. And more importantly, you get something out of it as well. The first thing you get out of it is for $5 or more a month, you get access to CWK Patreon show, CWK Pour Over, hosted by myself, Tom Gross, and Corey Club, which is an absolute blast. And that's really what this thing is all about. It's the behind-the-scenes stuff. It's the thoughts on things that are Star Wars, yes, but also popular culture. And it is a great time doing that with Tom and Corey each and every week. And those come out on Sunday morning. So, hey, so you're sitting there, it's Sunday morning, you're having your coffee, enjoying time with your family, and you have a CWK Pour Over to listen to. What could be more fun than that? On a serious note, however, 10% of your monthly contributions to Coffee with Kenobi goes directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital to help out those patients and their families. If you have any questions, be sure to email me, danz at coffeewithkenobi.com. I'm happy to answer anything you have about Patreon. But if you want to sign up right now and hear CWK Pour Over, help out St. Jude, and get access to t-shirts, coffee mugs, special videos, and so much more, go to patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi and sign up today.
All right, that was fun. Later on in the show, if you have any questions about Galaxy's Edge, feel free to ask myself or Lou at any point. We're happy to talk about it. It is a wonderful, magical place. I'm excited that you're going to get a chance to see it. Well, I mean, for sure you're going to see it next August during the next Star Wars Celebration, which will be in Anaheim, California.
I cannot wait. That is going to be such a great experience, and living it through what you say and what Lou says, and Lisa, our media specialist, the pictures that she shared, and just talking to people who have been there has been amazing. And I can't even imagine what it's going to be like to step into that park with my own 2 feet. To see the things that you have talked about, and even that one little bit that you will never say what it is.
About Savvy's workshop?
Well, I don't know. There's something, and I can't wait to experience that. As I know, I have to say though, for this audience, I was so happy to see so many hands go up when I said, who hasn't been there but is going? Because I always feel like I'm the only one who hasn't been there. So that's good to know, but I hope all of you have the opportunity to go at some point.
It's a great thing that, of course, that the food options are great. I personally think the best food at Galaxy's Edge is Quetzalcoatl's kettle. It's the kettle corn. And there are 2 kinds. There's the spicy and there's the sweet kind. And they had told me when I was there, try both at the same time. And I thought, well, okay. And it's great. It's probably the best popcorn I've ever had, including movie popcorn butter.
Would you say it's the best popcorn in the galaxy?
I would. See, this is the witty banter you can find each and every week on Coffee with Kenobi. So normally what we do on Coffee with Kenobi is we do a lot of interviews with a lot of people in the podcasting world, some of the actors, some of the voice actors, the writers of comic books and novels, a lot of stuff. We've had a great run in over 6 years of doing the show. But kind of our bread and butter is the analytical portion. Both of us, our day jobs, we're in education. I'm a high school English teacher. I teach seniors. And this gentleman.
Yes, and I'm a high school librarian.
And it's great because we get to collaborate not only on the show, but at our day job as well.
That's right.
And it's really fun. So what we really like to do is we like to take certain aspects of Star Wars and analyze it and break it down, because Star Wars really at its core is our modern mythology. It's, talking about the Force around us, penetrates us, and binds the galaxy together. So does Star Wars, it seems, for 42 years. It's our modern mythology. It tells stories about our culture, about what we value, how we treat others, redemption. The notion of redemption is, of course, a very, very powerful thing in the real world. And then you combine that with what happens with Darth Vader, you've got something powerful. But recently I did an article for a website that I'm not allowed to say to show what a website it is, but it's a popular website. And they asked me to look at what does it mean to have balance in the Force. So
from your perspective, what do you think? And I told you a couple days ago, hey, we're going to talk about balancing the force, so get ready.
Yeah, and so I've been thinking about this question of balancing the force, and I have to say, the only thing that comes to me when it comes to balancing the force is more questions. So, like, does balance of the force mean someone has to have control of that? Does balance of the force, does the force choose that balance and where it goes? But I have to say, it takes me back to the Phantom Menace when we discover that, of course, Anakin Skywalker is the chosen one and is said to bring balance to the Force. So I can only start this conversation in my mind starting with Anakin Skywalker. But we know...
A virgin should be. That's what they mean.
Yes. And so, but there are many different phases to Anakin Skywalker. From his Padawan years, to his Jedi Master years, to his fall, and then his time as Darth Vader. And then, presumably, the time after Darth Vader, maybe. I don't know. But, so I guess I just go back to that position of, so if balance of the Force is a conversation we're going to have, Anakin Skywalker has to be the center of it.
Yeah, as he's the fulcrum, actually.
He is.
Yes. So, in the original trilogy, they don't talk about balance very, very much. I mean, it certainly comes up. I think an interesting thing about balance is that in Return of the Jedi, there's a sequence where the spirit of Obi-Wan Kenobi is talking to Luke on Dagobah, and he says, you must confront Darth Vader. And Luke says, I can't kill my own father. And Obi-Wan looks disheartened and says, well, then the Emperor's already won. So it sounds like he's advocating, hey, for us to achieve balance, you have to kill Darth Vader because he's so powerful and such an overwhelming presence in the galaxy. Luke says no, ultimately chooses love, famously throws away his lightsaber in the Emperor's throne room, and then ultimately that leads to Anakin, Darth Vader becoming Anakin again, even though he still has the same breathing apparatus, and becoming Anakin Skywalker and then restoring balance to the Force. That's how I've always looked at it. But the interesting thing is, and there's a number of history behind this in the Star Wars saga, balance, it would seem, wouldn't mean getting rid of one side for the other. That's not balance, right? If it's just the Jedi and no Sith, yes, there's less fighting, but that's not balance because it's not equal. Right. And then when the Emperor shows up, there's so much evil and darkness on the dark side that doesn't balance it out either. So Luke has to come in and kind of right the ship, so to speak. There's an episode in season 4 has anyone here seen Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the animated series before? It's a great series. It's an absolutely great series. Well, there's an episode featuring R2-D2 and C-3PO where they go to this planet and there are people underground and people on the surface. And there are some cracks on the surface of the planet, and it causes disruptions and it causes earthquakes. And we come to find out through watching the episode, it's because the ground filters the air so that it's not toxic for the people on the surface. And once they disrupt that, that's a problem. So in order for them to maintain balance, they both have to live in harmony with one another. That seems like a pretty correct metaphor to me. They have to work together or leave each other alone, which would be like a metaphor in the case of the Jedi and the Sith. And then the Mortis trilogy is, if you've never seen any episode of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, there are 3 episodes called the Mortis trilogy, which is probably the funniest thing to ever see. If George Lucas worked on these directly, it has to do with the power and the nature of the Force and what that means for us. Right? So there is a father who maintains balance, there's a daughter who's the light side of the Force, and then there's the son who's the dark side of the Force. And it's the father's job to maintain balance. So he tries to recruit Anakin Skywalker to replace him and be the balance in the Force. Anakin, of course, says no, because he's got a different destiny to fulfill, as we know with Star Wars fans. But there's that notion there that they have to coexist. So now we fast forward to the films, and they forgot about that. They forgot about that lesson. Obi-Wan thinks you have to get rid of one to maintain peace. And it isn't until later when we learn in The Last Jedi that Luke says, it's hubris from the Jedi think they have kind of the monopoly on the Force because they don't. They have to learn to coexist. So I don't know what's going to happen in The Rise of Skywalker, even though my students swear that I do. But what I can tell you is that I feel like we're going to get some answers to seemingly unanswerable questions. And really, to me, ambiguity is kind of the great thing about Star Wars anyway, because I think these discussions and these conversations are what makes Star Wars so fascinating. I mean, a good mythology, yes, you have answers to things, but the more questions you have,
the more thought-provoking it is. I think you can kind of fill in the gaps in your own mind. It inspires critical thinking. I think that's very important.
Well, one question that often comes up when we talk about Anakin Skywalker and the balance of the Force is you have, so Anakin is brought into the Jedi to bring presumably balance to the light side of the Force, but then he of course goes to the dark side, and so is that implying then that the light side, the Jedi, had too much of the balance of the Force, and so it forced Anakin, did the Jedi Council, and did the light side of the Force bring Anakin to the dark side to create that balance? And then, from that point, Luke Skywalker comes into play and brings, and ends Darth Vader's reign on, of course, an Empire, but also the dark side of the Force. And as the Force goes, he shows back up as a Jedi. And so, I guess my first question is, can there be balance to the Force? And second of all, is that what Anakin was meant to do? Was to, come from sort of a nobody sort of stance. That's funny, a nobody sort of stance. We know somebody else who's in the last trilogy here who has a similar stance, but comes from nowhere, balances to the light side, is brought to the dark side, and then reign ended and goes back to the good.
Right. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there.
There is a lot.
That's good. I'm ready. I think if you think of the universe of Force, I know we're getting very esoteric here, but that's kind of like some of the things we like to do with Coffee with Kenobi. That is right. I think, if it's really balanced, think of it as a teeter-totter that's just completely flat, right? Too much good, too much bad, it disturbs the balance. Balance isn't a synonym with elimination of one side, right? Balance should be actual equal parts on equal sides. And so that you get to have your own choice. And I think what's interesting, and why Palpatine perhaps rises to power, is the Jedi kind of forgot about the human side of what it means to be a human being. And in the Force, whether you're a human or a Phaline or whatever kind of species you are in the Star Wars universe, the Jedi forgot about, when Yoda says to Anakin, mourn and do not, miss and do not if you lose someone special, I think Yoda's really out of touch. I think the Jedi got really out of touch with humans and what it means to be a human being and what it means to feel or be empathetic. They're supposed to be about knowledge and defense and compassion, which is essential to the Jedi teachings, as Anakin tells us in Episode 2. Once they forgot about the human relation dynamic, I think that threw them off the balance. And I never really thought about that until I wrote this article, but to me it makes sense. It always bothered me. Maybe I'm just not understanding the Jedi correctly. Yoda gives us advice, but Yoda may have been wrong. What do you think? You ever thought about that?
Okay, yes. I understand what you're saying, but what I'm rolling my eyes at, and I'm wondering if anyone else here feels the same way, but when I sit here and hear you say that Yoda made a mistake, that's like saying my grandpa wasn't perfect.
Well, your grandpa was perfect.
Well, thank you. But I just feel like, oh my gosh, Yoda, the master, Jedi Master Yoda could have been wrong. It seems so unlikely.
I think that's good though. You know why? Because and even as far back as Greek mythology goes, the heroes that people resonate with the most were fallible. We're not perfect. Because if they're perfect, then they become godlike, and then we can't relate to that. They're not heroic. If there's no struggle, then there's no great success, no great reward. So for Yoda to be fallible, if he was perfect, then there wouldn't be an episode 4, 5, and 6 because they wouldn't need it because Yoda could just take care of business. But it's hubris and pride, which we all experience in different ways, is what took him from the
I invaded this area. If I'm sitting in your space, let me know.
Makes Yoda more relatable if it's possible to relate to a super tall green man.
You kind of threw me for a loop there at the very end. Wasn't expecting that, but yeah, absolutely. But that is a true piece of Star Wars lore that I felt of when I realized or had that realization that the Jedi Council messed up. They really screwed up. And another question comes up when you mention Palpatine is, I don't know, when we were at Celebration and we got to watch the first trailer, and at the very end, when we hear the cackling of the Emperor, I was sitting on the floor, off in the distance with Corey Clubb, co-founder of Coffee with Kenobi, And my first thought when that happened was, can the Force be manipulated? Have we been manipulated this whole time, and now the Emperor, he's playing his hand? You don't agree?
No, I don't think so. The Force is an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us, penetrates us, binds the galaxy together. The Force can't be manipulated. That's what the Sith tried to do. Did you know how a Sith red kyber crystal is made? Does anybody know the answer to that? It's certainly not a good story for kids, so I'll tell you about it over at the Coffee with Kenobi booth. But they try to manipulate the Force for their own power, and they don't believe in, passing on to the next journey in the Force. They think they're going to stay around forever. They don't subscribe to the natural order of things, and which creates a very unhealthy balance, right, which they cannot do or be a part of. So what was your question?
My question was, can the Force is it possible for the Force to be manipulated?
You mean like someone to control the Force and take the way the Force's will?
I suppose.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I've never seen evidence. People can take over, but you see, every time that happens, then the Force awakens.
We'll have a balance.
And rises. Like someone like Luke Skywalker shows up, or someone named Rey shows up. To me, that's the Force's answer, which is why you can never manipulate something like that that's beyond your power and control, because eventually the universe will try to balance itself out.
So one thing I need to mention is one of our rules, for those of you who are not familiar with Coffee with Kenobi, one of our rules is speculation. We don't do any of that, because my next question was going to be that. So I want to bring something else up. I'm going to ask you to speculate a little bit, but that breaks our rules. No, that's good. So I want to bring up another part. And that is, when we talk about the balance of the Force, let's talk a little bit about how nature plays a role in that. Because when I think about the cave, for example, when Luke goes into the cave, and where Yoda is in Dagobah, very natural settings. And even Rey going into the cave is a very natural setting in the water in a cave. How does that play into the balance of the Force?
The cave itself, you mean?
Well, the cave with the natural settings and the natural order, and even Ezra in Star Wars Rebels brings control over creatures in that story. So how does that all play into them? And those are all light side powers.
Well, the thing about Ezra, not only control the animals so much as working union with them, right? Because they allowed for that to happen. Because otherwise it would be manipulation, which the Jedi wouldn't do. Not for a greater good, I wouldn't think. Although I guess you could argue about Jedi mind tricks, but that's kind of a separate thing. That's more like knowledge and defense, really. But the existence of the cave, I actually did a piece for this on StarWars.com. And I think the interesting thing about the existence of the cave is Yoda's been on the cave, 19 years between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, and then 3 years between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. Right? So that's 22 years. And so that means for 22 years, Yoda's been on this planet where you knew about this presence of the dark side cave. He didn't try to destroy it, or he didn't try to seal it up. If he did, it didn't work because it's still there. Right? And he seems to he doesn't tell Luke not to go, and he lets Luke make his own choices. And you can't really be naturally good, I don't think, unless you continue to make good choices. We're defined by the choices that we make and how we choose to carry ourselves and live our lives. So enabling Luke to get that chance is what separates the Jedi from the Sith, because the Sith don't give you that chance. They tell you what you're going to do. I think nature is very much in harmony with that. And because of the midichlorians aspect of the Force, which we were introduced to in the Phantom Menace, which I actually really like after reflecting on it, that is going to have spiritual and biological too. I think there's all kinds of fake evidence from real religions that showcase this idea. I think it all works together because it's an energy field created by all living things, not just humans, but plants. Yoda talks about that quite a bit too. So does that answer your question?
I think so. I just always find it. I guess I just like that feeling that all of the Force users of the light side, and I appreciate your correction of that Ezra doesn't control the animals and works in unison, which I think is what makes the difference between light side and dark side. One is all about control. The other one is about harmony. Yeah, that's good. This is a good I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot today. I hope you are too. Yeah, that's really interesting stuff. So here's the deal. Each and every week you can find us on Coffee with Kenobi, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, on our website. On YouTube you can find our videos and some of the audio for all of our podcasts. Tom, where can people find you if they want to ask you anything? Oh, yeah. You can catch me on Twitter at Draftline. That's DRAFTLINE. I'm also, if you want to send me a longer message, that's TomG at coffeewithkenobi.com. And you can find me doing the news on the show, too. That's right, on Coffee with Kenobi each and every week. CWK News and Tom Rose. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Zer, MRZEHR. You can certainly find me on Coffee with Kenobi social media everywhere, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. We'd love for you to have us there. I also do a podcast every other week with Jim Hill from Jim Hill Media called Looking at Lucasfilm. And I write for the website StarWars.com and IGN. So thank you so very much, everybody. Have an amazing time with Indy Disney Meet. Be sure to come over and say hello and have a great, wonderful rest of your day and weekend. Thank you so much. All right, thank you.
Back on the Indy Disney show floor, we're here with Aaron Adams, the producer of the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network and the co-host of Marvelous Disney. And this is actually the first time we've been chatting for quite a while. You've been on Coffee with Kenobi. This is the first time we've met face-to-face. It's really, really cool to get to spend some time with you.
Yes, I don't like you at all. Please leave. That's that traditional Aaron Adams wit that you came here for, is
That's
just
right.
being borderline offensive. No, we had a really good time today. I'm starting to drip with sweat because I'm getting kind of warm, but that just means that we've been having a very event-filled day, meeting people. And I think that's the fun part, is normally when we do a show, we're stuck in our own little cubicle in our own little apartment, separated by an entire continent of land. But here we've got to shake a lot of hands and meet a lot of people that said so many complimentary things, I almost think they're talking about the wrong show. But we'll forgive that and just assume they really meant to talk about us as they're being so complimentary. But it's a great time today.
Yeah, all the people here have been really, really wonderful. It's got a really warm, kind of a grassroots feel to it. And people just really love their Disney and are excited to talk with people about Star Wars and Marvel. We had a great looking at Lucasfilm taping that Tom joined us in, which we talked about, which was really, really great. We got to do Coffee with Kenobi in the biggest room I've ever podcasted from, undoubtedly. So it's been a lot of fun. You can hear in the background they're auctioning off a lot of things, doing some last-minute giveaways, but much, much more soon. Aaron, let's do this again, shall we?
All right, we're getting
I missed it with the what? What did you say?
I said, Aaron, let's do this again.
Oh, absolutely not. No. This was a once-in-a-lifetime event. If you could not make it to the 2019 Disney Indy Meet, you've missed the only event that will ever happen. It'll never be duplicated. Often tried, but never duplicated. Yes, we'll definitely do it again.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are the podcast you're looking for. This is...
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From brand new audiobooks such as Thrawn Treason and the audiobook exclusive Dooku Jedi Lost, to our blockbuster movie tie-in editions, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Start listening wherever audiobooks are sold.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along. Move along.